Hello, folks.
Okay, is everyone there? And welcome, everyone. We welcome you to Township of Douro-Dummer's council meeting here on the 5th of April, 2022. We'll call the roll of members of council who are with us. First of all, Deputy Mayor Moher, give us a little wave.
Yep.
Thank you, Carl. Councillor Watt.
Present.
Councillor Landsman.
I'm here.
And Councillor Watson. Good. We have a full complement of members of council. Also with us, our CAO is Alana Arthurs. Alana, good to have you. Our clerk, Martina Chade-Hartwig. Martina is here. And our interim treasurer, Paul Kramer. Paul, you are there in the background somewhere? Hi, good to have you here. So we are all here, and I will call the meeting to order at 5 o'clock. We respectfully acknowledge that we're on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga and Ishibé, and we offer our gratitude to the First Nations people for their care for and their teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Please join us for a moment of silent reflection. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Is there any pecuniary interest with any of the matters we're dealing with any members of council tonight? Okay, seeing no hands, we will move on. I'm going to move items 10.3 and 10.3.1 to the agenda portion following closed session, just so you know. So if I could have a motion, please, to adopt the amended agenda. Moved by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Landsman. All in favor? That motion is approved. We go to the adoption of minutes. The council meeting minutes of March 15th and special meeting minutes of March 15th are before you. A motion, please, to receive and approve the minutes. Councillor Watt. Seconded by Councillor Watson. All in favor? That motion is approved. Consent agenda is also before you. Items 7.1, 7.2, 7.3. A motion, please, to adopt the consent agenda. You'll be able to pull one out if that's what you desire, but a motion, please, first to receive and approve the consent agenda. Councillor Landsman. Seconded by Councillor Watt. All in favor? That motion's approved. Anyone want to bring any of those items out? Okay, moving right along then. We're doing well. Delegations, petitions, presentations, or public meetings, we have none scheduled for this meeting. In other business and staff reports, the subject of off-road vehicles on county roads is before us, and we'd like to welcome a special guest as a resource. We have two very handsome gentlemen, Peter Nielsen and Jean Chartier from Paradigm Consulting. And these are the two gentlemen who have been working with the county's Transportation Master Plan Committee, of which this subject is part of. So you have had that lengthy report in your agenda, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. I'm going to ask Jean and or Peter to give us a bit of a review, and most importantly, what the expectation is for us tonight before you leave the meeting. So, Jean, do you want to give us a wee bit of a background on this report first?
Well, certainly, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this evening before Council.
As your report indicates, the County of Peterborough is in the process of dealing with the matter of off-road vehicle use on public roads, specifically the county road system. We were before council last fall, I guess it was, or late August or early September, to provide you an update as to where the study stood. At that time, we indicated we were in the process of gathering further information and putting together a recommendation for the purposes of county council. And that matter first was dealt with by the Transportation Master Plan Steering Committee. So we brought forward a report towards the end of November to the steering committee and made a presentation then to county council on December the 15th. At that time, our report, as is summarized in your agenda package tonight, made a number of recommendations. The first, I guess, and foremost was recommending that the county allow off-road vehicles to use the county road system in select locations. And those locations were to be determined in part through consultation with the townships, but we provided an initial starting point for the conversation. When that report was brought forward to county council, as mentioned, they adopted that recommendation of allowing them on select county roads in principle, subject to the report being circulated to the townships and there being follow-up with the individual lower tier municipalities in Peterborough County. So over the past, I guess, 3 to 4 months, myself and Mr. Nielsen have been meeting with the respective municipalities, staff, to discuss the proposed concept of the off-road vehicle network on county roads, getting feedback from the various members of staff, as well as just sort of clarifying any questions there might be. One of the directives from County Council, though, on December the 15th, was that they were looking for feedback from each of the individual lower tier municipalities within the county as to their view on the use of off-road vehicles on county roads. So our purpose this evening here is, as Mayor Jones has said, we're here this evening to provide any clarification of any questions or comments, and to answer, if there are any concerns, or if sort of to give you a sense as to where things stand in the review process. The report before you this evening from staff does speak to the matter in terms of ORV use. Obviously, looking for some direction from council as to how best to proceed. But basically, the expectation that the county council had was that there will be a report back to them this spring with the opinions from the respective municipalities. So far, county staff has received responses from 5 of the 8 municipalities within the county. There are still 3 that are outstanding. 2 or 3, I guess. Peter, was it 2 or 3? I think it's 3, correct? Yeah. So we're waiting for sort of yourselves and 2 other municipalities to get back to the county in terms of your views on the recommendation that's before you. So what the county is seeking direction on is whether there is support for what we're calling alternative 2, which is the use of off-road vehicles on select county roads, as well as any, if there is concurrence with that recommendation, as to whether there would be any changes to the proposed network that is shown in the attachment to the report. So with that, Mayor Jones, I'll turn it back to you, and happy to answer any questions that council may have this evening.
So obviously, Douro-Dummer are one of the 3 townships that has not responded yet. Alana, our CAO, I believe, has some comments on the situation before we go any further. Alana, could you give us an update, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think from our perspective, when we did meet with Jean and Peter, we just had some discussion about some of the routes that were proposed and some concerns just with the routes kind of leading to nowhere. Towards the west on County Road 6, there's sort of a stoppage and there's nowhere to go from there. On the south end of the municipality, when you're traveling from County Road 40 down and then back to the west again, it sort of stops. And then just the concern coming down from County Road 6 towards Warsaw, and it stops at Cedar Cross Road. So we did have some discussions then just about what happens when these ATVs come down these roadways and have nowhere to go, and whether or not there was a possibility to create some kind of a circuit if they were going to use county roads, so that we didn't end up with the ATVs, continuing on these routes, and then the enforcement of such. So aside from that, I tried to take out the relevant pieces and just provide you with the map for Douro-Dummer so that you can see, and you may have some other questions or concerns, but that was really what we had identified, Martina and myself, when we met with Peter and Jean.
Comments, Jean or Peter, on those comments at all?
Nothing from myself. I think as Arthur's has very aptly described our conversation. We've been approaching each of the lower tier municipalities with the expectation that there would, hopefully there'll be some collaboration in terms of establishing a routing network for ORVs that makes sense both for the county and for the township. And through our conversations, we certainly are amenable to suggested changes to the network, and those would then be brought forward to the steering committee and county council eventually for ultimate approval. But we have been receiving suggestions from other municipalities as well, so it certainly would be consistent with what's been happening elsewhere within the county.
Okay, note to selves. And before I open it up to questions from members of council who have read the report, the issue of public consultation on the matter, can you highlight that for us?
Certainly, yes. Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Mayor. So we've done a number of rounds of public consultation. It started, I guess, about a year and a half ago when we got underway with the Transportation Master Plan update. We'd always envisioned that there was a separate consultation stream for the ORV component, given the considerable interest in Peterborough County on the topic. So we've done, we had an initial round of public consultation at the beginning of the project, which sought sort of opinion and thoughts on it. And then we did a subsequent, more focused round sort of towards the end of 2020 that sought information on things like routes, preferred destinations, things of that nature that could be incorporated into our response. And then we've also done another survey last fall, as well as sort of an open invite to the public at large to provide input on the ORV routes, as well as the concept of allowing ORVs on county roads. And in the intervening period, the Transportation Master Plan Steering Committee entertained a series of delegations at their meeting in April of 2021 to get feedback from a variety of different interested parties, both those that tended to support ORV use and some that might not have been as supportive, so that they did get a sort of a broad variety of perspectives on the topic. So from our perspective, we feel we've done a fair degree of outreach to the public. That survey that I spoke of generated almost 1,000 responses. So, we feel that there has been good opportunity. And in the lead up to the survey, the county, notified the public through a variety of different means, including a series of roadside signs that were placed in different parts of the county to inform individuals that the opportunity was available to comment.
Okay, no, thank you for that. Those 1,000 replies, though, Jean, that was countywide, right? Not
that's correct, Mr. Mayor. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so ultimately, we need some direction to be able to take to the county transportation plan, and I'm going to leave it up to members of council to deal with that and get in touch with Alana, and then we're going to have to deal with it that way, and they're going to want some kind of response, so we haven't got a whole lot of time. Okay, I'm going to open it up to questions, members of council who would like to ask a question of Peter or Jean. Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. Gentlemen, I have a couple of questions. just a high level one on the public consultation, just picking up on your point earlier, Jean, as well as on Alana's point about these dead ends. Starting with the public consultation, although I appreciate 1,000 responses on a survey is generally good out of what, roughly 80,000 residents in the community, in the county that is. I'm wondering if at the point in time when that delegation, or pardon me, when that consultation was taking place, if the proposed maps as we see them today were presented. I think I'd just like some clarification on that, because thinking that, you know, the people potentially who live along these routes, now that they actually see it as, you know, beyond an 18-month process that this has been undertaking, and they realize, oh, this is actually really possibly going to happen, and it's going to happen right in front of my home or in my neighborhood, they might be a little bit more compelled to want to provide some input. So can you just speak to that for a moment, please?
Certainly, yes, through the mayor to the councillor. So as part of the outreach in the with the Public Information Center in round 2, or the one that we did last fall, from September through to the beginning of October, we did show a conceptual map of a potential of the potential ORV network at that time. But we were pretty clear in saying that there would still be further refinement that may arise as a result of comments that we received and through further engagement with the lower tier municipalities. But we did show a network concept at that time, but it wasn't definitively said that this is the recommended network that's going to be implemented if there's ultimate approval.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. And then just picking up on the point that Alana had mentioned, what do we do when people, you know, get to those dead ends? I don't see them as dead ends. Frankly, I see them as starting points, where typically speaking, people who have ORVs are going to trailer them in, park them, and then begin their journey in a day of fun. I see this often. I tend to walk the OFSA trail that's off of Technology Drive south towards Keene. And there's a couple of areas there where people are able to park or pull in. Has the county put any thought into where people may park and offload to begin their day of adventure, say at the crossroads of County Road 6 and 5th Line or Highway 28, depending on, it's hard to see with the map, but and some of these other points? Are there areas that would be designated for people to safely do that, park and offload?
Through the mayor, and I may ask Mr. Nielsen to assist in the response as well, but our intention was to make their, that the places where it stopped and started the network, that there were, there's a couple things went into it. One is that we were sort of walking a bit of a fine line in terms of that there could be circumstances where it may make sense to extend the route onto a township road to enable it to be a more complete and fulsome connection. But because it would have been presumptuous of the county to assume that municipalities would be accepting of those particular routes, in some cases, we brought them as close to those sort of natural points of takeoff and departure on the network for the purpose of doing that. So that was sort of part of the rationale of wanting to reach out to the townships and get some further input. It was, in some cases, it required use of local roads to complete a full connection. But that said, we do acknowledge that there are going to need to be some additional facilities that may have to be developed as a result of it. And that's one of the recommendations, is that you look at what else would need to be to support the development of the network, but haven't as of yet said, this is exactly where you need to put 50 parking spaces, that sort of thing. That wasn't part of our review.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. Peter, do you want to comment on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to supplement Jean's comments, the map that's provided with the report, it does depict the proposed county road network. It was specific to county roads. We did not want to presume that the townships would be prepared to open their roads, but to provide a continuous ORV network that may just be necessary to support the ORV use throughout the county. Through the consultation process, a lot of ORV users were looking to minimize the amount of trailering that they would have to do. So having a continuous network that would really support the reduction of that use of trailering to move ORVs around. They prefer to drive rather than trailers.
Okay, thank you for that. Other questions? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you very much to you, Mr. Mayor.
If I could just interrupt, we're getting out of the habit of the little hands in the air. If we could do that, then I can get everybody in the right order. So if you could remember that, please. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen. I know this has been quite a journey and a long time coming, and it's more and more popular all the time. And with some people and with other people, it's not popular. So it's a touch and go one. I do understand what Alana said about, our CAO said about some of the dead ends. And depending on what the township does, that could alleviate some of them, as you said, like depending on if and when we open some more roads, that could tie them in to more. My main question is coming down County Road 4, only as far as, and I know it says Cedar Cross Road, I think it's actually Oak Road at that particular time, not that matters, but it only comes that far down in. The village of Warsaw has, store, gas station, things, both that could be very much utilized. And there's no access into Warsaw except county roads. So anybody that needs gas on partway through the journey can't stop here to get it because they have to go on a county road no matter which way they go. So I would like myself to see that one extended down into the village, and then it can spread off of maybe up Rock Road or something, depending on what we do, like I say. But at least people coming down could get gas and convenient stuff at the store. We did talk a long time ago when this came up with our township, and it was only a concept. It never got, it went too far, but especially in the summer months, but using our arena parking lot, which has gotten a lot bigger over the last while as a staging center. But I mean, that's another thing that's down the road, but it was just more of a comment to Councillor Watson's about where to do that. That was a concept way back with our township. So like I said, that the main thing was getting down into Warsaw. No matter what way you come, it's a county road.
Okay, thank you for the comment. Any other little hands in the air? There's a real hand with Sheila. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, and I couldn't find the little hand. I have a comment and a question to either Jean or Peter. First of all, I agree with the concept, and I agree with Alana's comments and Councillor Watt that the dead ends could be a concern. Just getting right off that topic for a moment, I also had a concern reading through the presentation about the police costs and the policing costs and how they are borne by the lower tier. And I just wondered if you could provide some more information on that, because that's kind of a whodunit type of area.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Landsman. So it's really an interesting point of discussion, Councillor. So currently, as I know you're all painfully aware, the lower tier municipalities in Peterborough County are responsible for policing service. So there would be no expectation that sort of under this concept that the county would get involved in financing police services, as that's certainly within your sphere of responsibility. So we weren't sort of looking at that. The difficulty comes in terms of trying to estimate exactly how much service the police would need to provide, because at the time of preparing our report, we were still a bit uncertain as to the extent of the network for one, and where the calls for service would come from. So I guess the first thing we looked at is all of the existing policing contracts with the OPP contemplate enforcement of Highway Traffic Act and related sorts of infractions. So it's already contemplated as part of your existing police services agreement. And there wasn't a specific provision that said that, if you allow ORVs on these roads or on certain number of roads, the cost is going to go up by X number of dollars. So what we tried to do is make a guess at different levels of service, of police service. And it really was dependent on, sort of the municipality, like where the calls would be coming from. It may impact different municipalities differently. So we anticipate, that there is, that inevitably there would be a cost, regardless of which way the county goes with this, whether it's to keep them off of county roads or to police them when they're on county roads. There's going to be some sort of cost associated with it. And based on what we found, we didn't think that there would be substantively different between the various options, but it would depend on the extent of the network and the degree of, what sort of impact locally it's going to be in terms of the number of calls for service.
Okay, thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
Our final little hand in the air is from Carl, and then we'll come up with a way to tackle this moving forward. Go ahead, Carl.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the information. You've heard some of this before. I guess I'm still concerned about the qualification of the opinions. I understand that quite a few of the opinions coming forward are ORV owners and not necessarily community people that might be concerned about noise and other things. I understand that some ORV sales dealers in the county have even advertised the open house meetings. By not qualifying the opinions, how do you sort through what's legitimate and what isn't? Regarding the dead end, County Road 4 and Oak Road, I think the word is already out that that's a route on County Road, because I live close to Cedar Side Road and it's the Wild West on Oak Road and Cedar Side Road from time to time. And the police are already up there in extra surveillance. So to suggest it won't be increasing policing costs is we're dreaming in Technicolor, because I guess from my standpoint, I have no problem with proper ORV use, but there is a sticker in all these machines that says for off-road only and not roads. And yet we continue to push this and we keep seeing it. And I thought we had already addressed this or put our comment back. I think we've had 2 public meetings in our township, and we have a lot of people that don't want them on roads, period. And that's even Dave Giroux, who was a very big advocate. He's deputy mayor of Havelock, Bell and Methuen, is showing some doubts about use on county roads. Now, I don't know the details, but I've just noticed it recently in the last year, he's having some doubts. Also, part of this whole study, I still don't see any reference to the increased severe risk of accident and mortality with these vehicles. And yet, Peterborough Health Unit, which is responsible for the greater Peterborough area health of citizens, has come out very profoundly at their letter a few years ago about the dangers of these and accidents on roads. Why are we getting that into the equation here? And because it's just not happening. My last point is insurance. And this is a really profound statement. And I don't know whether whoever wrote this has no idea about what insurance represents, but financial analysis has assumed, and I guess that's the assumed is the word there that is noticeable, the county's insurance premiums would not increase if ORVs are allowed. We're based on a claims-based system. Definitely insurance companies don't charge for some new service that we provide. but let there be a claim or two or three and just watch the premiums go up. It's just the way the principle of insurance operates. So I guess I'm a little bit impatient about having to see this over and over again. The citizens of our people have come forward and have asked for special needs, and we have some special needs on the east end of Dummer Ward to link certain areas to other certain areas, and we've approved that. And as far as I'm concerned, if there's another area that wants to come forward, then I'd be happy to look at it from a county and a township standpoint and move forward. But I think the word's already out on Oak and Cedar Side Road because police are there a lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Jean or Peter, any comments on Carl's comments before we move on?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the comments, Deputy Mayor. And I do certainly share a number of your concerns with regards to this moving forward. One of the options that the township has is to choose not to support the recommendation and not to support the option of moving forward with allowing ORVs on county roads. At this point in time, and that's part of the way in which this has been structured is that different townships have the ability to respond as they wish from the perspective of permitting ORV use. We know that the more northern and eastern townships have all indicated support for wanting it on as many county roads as possible, whereas some of the other municipalities aren't quite as more to the south and the west don't tend to be as supportive. So there is still the option that the township could say, we don't support the use of ORVs on the county roads within the township, or we don't like those specific locations of the ones that have been identified, and can say we only want them on this road and that road. So that option is still available to the township council, and the county council would take that under advisement when it comes back. I would anticipate that there would be generally support for whatever the direction of the township would be, and that's how it would be reflected in the network moving forward. So, I don't want council to think that we're trying to necessarily pigeonhole you into a particular solution or a particular direction, but based on our analysis and what we've done, we think this is a reasonable approach for trying to balance the very two different opinions about allowing and not allowing ORVs on county roads. But certainly within your purview to go in a different direction than what the report is recommending.
Okay, no, thank you for that clarity, Gene. Well, moving forward, I'm just speaking for myself, and maybe I'll ask Alana to comment. My suggestion would be, and I am listening to what Heather said about members of the Douro-Dummer community questions whether they've had access to these maps, whether they have a clear indication of what could be happening. I think we need to make it very clear to them the potential of this project, and I think we need to give them the opportunity to comment on it and have a public meeting at a future council meeting. So it seems to me we need to get the word out right away on social media, on our webpage, however we can, and let's pick a date to get some public comments. And in the meantime, members of council, you can speak to staff on your comments, but obviously you'd want to wait till you heard from the people who pay the bills out there. Alana, what's your concept of that proposal?
To you, Mr. Mayor, I think having dealt with the ATV issue in a neighboring municipality and the challenges that we were faced with the number of comments that we received, I wonder if it might be better for staff to go back and take a look, come back to council with the proposal from the county, as well as, a proposal to do nothing, potentially a proposal to link with some township roads, and just streamline the comments that we receive. My concern is if we just put this out and ask for public feedback, we're going to get a different opinion from everybody who provides that feedback, unless we really structure what we're looking for. I think there might be differences of opinions at our council level. So if we could come back with something, then council can have a wholesome discussion on what they may or may not be willing to support. And we could also open it up at that point for public comment.
Okay, no, I like that idea as well. So you'll gather all the material that we know of, all the historical facts and the new facts and all those good things. And Jean and Peter, I totally understand what it is you're doing. You're trying to be as neutral as you can on this, and I get it. So there's no throwing stones or pointing fingers at anybody. We want to do the right thing, and we want to do what the majority of ratepayers in Douro-Dummer will accept from every point of view going. Okay, that is going to be it then. So, Alana, you're willing to proceed with that report, etc.? Okay.
Absolutely. Could I just ask Mr. Nielsen, what is your timeline? How much time do we have to bring this back to you?
Tomorrow morning? No, just kidding, Peter.
Through the chair, we don't have a defined timeline for a final decision from councils. We're in the process of gathering feedback from all the municipalities and certainly have the option to support the concept or defer a decision. We'll continue to work with each.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Their needs.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's more than fair.
Thank you.
Okay, we're all in this together, and we've got to come up with the right decision. So I would entertain a motion then to follow Alana's suggestion and move forward in the best possible way we can. Carl is going to make the motion, and the seconder is from Heather. Any discussion on the motion itself? All in favor? That motion is approved. Peter and Jean, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. That seems like a long time ago now. We are at, Martina, you might have to help me out here. No. 9.2, Staff Compensation Review and Proposed Salary Grid. Alana, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that CAO 2022-10, report dated April 5th, 2022, regarding staff compensation review and proposed salary grid be received, and that the bylaw for approval be presented at the appropriate time in the meeting. This is just following up from our previous presentation and discussion at our last council meeting, and formally having a bylaw on the agenda to adopt the new salary grid.
Okay, thank you. Motion to receive that report and to approve it for the bylaw at the end of the meeting. Tom is making the motion.
Yes, to approve it, yes.
To approve, and Sheila is going to second it. All in favor? That motion is approved. Okay, item 9.3.2. I'm going to turn it over to Martina. We're going to grill her about the Chuck Wagon barbecue. I had to use that, Martina. I'm sorry.
No problem. So the report that's before you is report Clerk Planning 2022-22, dated April 5th, 2022, regarding the monthly lease fee for the Chuck Wagon barbecue. We're requesting or suggesting that the monthly rent be increased by $75 to $325 per month, plus any amount that is over and above the $75 increase in hydro at the rec center be approved. This is similar to previous year's leases. We're just increasing the monthly cost. And this will be the last year of this contract before it has to be renegotiated.
Okay, very clear, right on the grill. Anybody would like to make a motion to approve that? Nobody? Okay, Heather, we'll make that motion. And Sheila, you'll second it. All in favor? Motion is approved. Committee minutes, other reports. Deputy Mayor Moher, a quick update on County Council matters. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe I provide input once a month, and I think at our last meeting I provided input. I don't mind doing it again, but I think it's usually every second meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, no, that's fair. Note to
I don't think there's anything new. Development fees are still active discussion. Bridge North bypass and 4-lane has been changed. I'm sure you've seen it in the press. And
Official plan still underway, and
yes,
yep, things are pretty much the same. Okay, thank you, Carl. A motion to receive that brief report from Carl, and we'll hear from him in detail at the next meeting. Sheila and Heather, all in favor? That motion is approved. You got off easy there, Carl.
thank you.
10.2, report on capital project status. That's our report. If you have any comments to make on any of those items, now is the time to make them, or give me a motion to receive that report, please. Tom?
Receive with thanks. These are great. Thank you very
And a
much.
seconder. Carl? All in favor? That motion is approved. And again, reminder, 10.3 and 10.3.1 have been moved to after closed session. 10.4, request regarding administrative policies. Carl, was this something you were going to mention?
Yes, that was an issue I raised with staff to discuss at this meeting, and I think it's been resolved. Yeah, I feel it has been resolved. It was regarding our last meeting with the delegation of powers. There was a number of powers that were added in there that I felt concerned about, and that's what I was going to raise the concern. But unfortunately, some of the issues I raised at the HR meeting weren't supported by my three colleagues at the meeting. And I guess in a lot of cases, these were powers that we as council members have had for years. And yet the three out of the four attending the meeting did not support it. I raised a point of order, which wasn't ruled on by the chair, which should be, according to Robert's rules that we follow. Even the Municipal Act is not definite in the delegation of powers for the CAO. In general, under Act number 229 of the Municipal Act, it says such things as a municipality may appoint a chief administrative officer who shall be responsible for exercising general control and management. Not general is not very specific. It's not, doesn't mean all, it doesn't mean total. Now, since that time, we've got clarity that when we appoint a senior manager, which we've always done at this council for many, many years, it's always confirmed by council. And also, it turns out that my issues that I raised at the meeting are correct, that it does have to be recommended to council, because in most cases, a bylaw has to be prepared and processed through council. So council isn't going to prepare or pass a bylaw without some kind of report from staff. So I think it's been resolved as far as my satisfaction is concerned, and I'm disappointed that we wasted so much staff time with their goings on at the HR meeting. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Carl. There's no motion required then. That was a quick report that was on the agenda. Let's move to item 11. We have one bylaw. Martina, do you want to outline the bylaw for us?
Very good. So this is bylaw 2022-17. This is the salary grid for the staff of the corporation of the township. This grid is based on the work that was completed with our salary and compensation review that had come to council. I believe it was last meeting or the meeting before. And so we, at council's bequest, we brought it forward in a bylaw so that it's a more transparent process than it has been in the past.
Okay, thank you. We need a motion to approve bylaw 2002-17. Sheila will make that motion to approve. Do we have a seconder, please? Last call for a seconder. Tom? All in favor? All in favor, nice and high. Good. Thank you very much. That bylaw is now in effect. Action items will form gravel mining coalition about the Ontario Stone, Sand and Gravel Association. What is your preference here, please? Any motion from anyone? Carl?
In light of our very limited involvement with this, I would move to receive unless staff think otherwise.
Seconder to that, Heather. Alana, do you have any stones to throw here? No? Okay. All in favor? That motion is approved. Notice of motion, anybody? Seeing none. Any community announcements? Seeing none. I'd like a motion, please, to go into closed session for items outlined in the Ontario Municipal Act. Please give me a motion. Tom and Sheila, all in favor? That motion's approved. We'll be back in a moment once the clerk stops the recording and live session.